Entities are the stuff that Big Bang games are made of. The ground, all the voxel objects you add, and every script running in a project will be part of entities. Each entity can have multiple components like voxel objects, collision, particles, and scripts, which we will go over in later videos. The entity search on the right-hand side will show you every entity in your project, listed in alphabetical order. You can click on an entity in the list to select it in-game, and hold down the Control key to select more than one at once. At the top of the panel is a search where you can type a keyword and find any entity that matches the text in its name, scripts, or tags. With an entity selected, you can examine its properties through the Entity Props panel on the left side of the screen. The icons at the top of this panel show different components that an entity can have. You can open and close each section with the drop-down arrow. In the Entity section, you can change the entity's name as well as give it tags. We'll learn about more ways to use tags in a later video. Entities have several optional components that you can add and modify through the Entity Props menu. If you create an entity with a voxel object, by default it will have a transform, which saves the position, rotation, and scale of the entity, a collision that keeps players from being able to walk through the entity, and a voxel object, which saves what creation from the voxel editor the entity is supposed to look like. Entities have to have a name and a transform, but other components like collision and voxel objects are actually optional. You could have an entity that is just one script or just some text, and you can also have an entity with multiple voxel objects or multiple types of collision. We'll discuss these in the complex voxel objects and collision videos. The easiest way to create a new entity is using resources, the panel at the bottom. Here, you can use the voxel object section to find voxel objects created by the community and drag them into your game. You can use the drop-down menu in the right corner of resources to narrow down to only voxel objects that you've created or only voxel objects that are already in the project. And you can use search to look for a specific keyword in the voxel object's names. You can also find templates in the resources panel, which are entities that have voxel object components and scripts, so they can be used to start building interesting levels and interactions right away. You can find scripts in the scripts section. These scripts need to be dragged onto an existing entity, so make sure you have a voxel object first and then add the script.